It is 2026, and grocery bills are out of control. Ordinary families are spending over $850 a month just to eat. But right now, across the country, tiny backyards are quietly turning into set-it-and-forget-it food factories, autopilot gardens that grow around $5,000 of fresh produce a year with almost no ongoing labor. Imagine replacing a big chunk of your shopping list with vegetables that basically grow themselves, automatically watered, weeded, and protected, saving you time, money, and stress. How is that even possible in a space the size of a bedroom? This is the system that could let you beat inflation and break free from the checkout line for good. Every morning before the sun even hits the kitchen window, the Rodriguez family is already feeling the squeeze. Their grocery receipts have started looking more like rent bills, $850 a month, just to keep the fridge full. That's not steak and lobster either. It's basic stuff: lettuce, tomatoes, a few berries for the kids' lunches, and maybe some herbs if they're on sale. Even with careful shopping, the prices keep creeping up. But it's not just the grocery total that is eating away at their budget. In Phoenix, water isn't just a bill, it's a worry. The city has been in drought mode for years. Every time the sprinklers run, the meter spins 7,000 gallons a month. And that's with the kids being told to keep showers short. The Rodriguez family has watched their water bill jump past $70, sometimes even higher when the city bumps the rates. It's enough to make you eye every drip from the faucet. Then there is the time. 6 hours a week minimum get swallowed by food runs, meal planning, and kitchen prep. That's a whole evening lost to traffic jams in the grocery store parking lot, waiting for the deli counter, or standing in line at the register. Then there is the extra time spent washing wilted greens or tossing out those sad, slimy strawberries that never seem to last more than a day or two. All that effort, and what's the reward? Food that has traveled hundreds of miles, picked weeks ago, and sometimes tastes like cardboard. The Rodriguez kids have started pushing salad to the side, asking why the tomatoes taste watery. The family wants to eat better, but the price of organic is even steeper. And with drought warnings flashing on the news, it is hard not to feel like every head of lettuce comes with a side of guilt. For families like the Rodriguez's, the pain is real, and it is everywhere, in the wallet, in the calendar, and in the kitchen. The dream is simple: fresh, tasty food that does not drain your bank account, your weekend, or your city's water supply. But right now, that dream feels out of reach. Until something changes, the Rodriguez family is stuck on the grocery treadmill, running faster just to keep up. Imagine a garden that is basically running on autopilot, no green thumb required, no endless to-do lists. Hidden beneath the leaves, a suite of tiny sensors is constantly checking the soil's moisture, the air's humidity, even how much sunlight is hitting each plant. It is like having a team of expert gardeners living right in your backyard, working 24/7, but you never have to pay them or remind them to show up. The real magic? All this data gets crunched by a mini brain, a smart hub, right there at the edge of your garden. It does not send your info out to the cloud or some faraway server. Everything stays local, so your tomatoes are not broadcasting your secrets to the internet. The only thing leaving your yard is the smell of fresh basil. Dr. Maya Chen, who spent years designing life support systems for astronauts, wanted to make sure this garden could handle anything. Her team built in a 2-hour backup battery, just in case the power goes out. During a blackout last August, the Johnson family's garden did not skip a beat. The pumps kept running, the plants stayed watered, and when the lights came back, the system picked up right where it left off. No fried lettuce, no soggy roots, just a smooth handoff, like a relay race where nobody drops the baton. Every decision, when to water, when to shade, when to add a little boost of nutrients, happens automatically. The garden reads the weather, checks the soil, and only acts when it is actually needed. If the air gets dry, the system knows. If a cloudy day rolls in, it adjusts the lights. You do not have to lift a finger or guess what your plants want. Even Dr. Elena Ruiz, a hydroponics professor, says the autopilot setup is as reliable as her lab's professional systems. It is all about making the garden foolproof so you can get on with your life while your backyard quietly cranks out the freshest food you have ever tasted. No more standing outside with a hose, no more guessing if your basil is thirsty, and absolutely no need to worry about your data privacy. The garden handles the details, you just enjoy the harvest. Next up, how this system pulls water out of thin air, literally. Picture this. You wake up in the middle of a heat wave, the city's on water restrictions, and your neighbors are watching their lawns turn brown. But out back, your garden is thriving, lush, green, and bursting with food. Here's the wild part. It is not hooked up to a hose, and you are not hauling buckets. The secret is that the garden literally makes its own water, pulling it straight out of the air like magic, but backed by science. This is not some sci-fi prop. It is called an air-to-water generator, and it works a bit like the cold glass of lemonade that sweats on a hot day. The machine chills the air just enough that water condenses, drop by drop, until the tank is full. Even when the humidity dips as low as 25%, it is still pulling in water. At 60% humidity, which is about what you get in most US cities during the growing season, the system cranks out enough pure, clean water to keep the whole garden happy. Dr. Samir Patel, a university water specialist, ran these machines through their paces in the lab. The numbers are surprisingly down to earth, about 0.55 kilowatt hours of electricity for every liter of water. What does that mean for your electric bill? At typical rates, that is around $11 a month to cover all the water your garden needs, no matter what the weather does. Even in a dry spell, the cost barely creeps up. Compare that to the $70 or $80 the Rodriguez family used to pay just to keep their old lawn alive. Suddenly, water is no longer something you have to stress about. The garden does not just survive droughts, it laughs at them. No more worrying about city water bans or watching your plants wilt because the forecast missed the mark. The autopilot system senses exactly when the plants need a drink and only turns on the water when it is really necessary. You never have to think about it, and you never have to choose between saving money and saving your tomatoes. The garden takes care of itself, rain or shine, and you get to enjoy the harvest without ever glancing at a hose or a weather app. Forget everything you know about weeding. In the autopilot garden, the ground is not dirt, it is a living carpet that does all the hard work for you. Instead of fighting off weeds every weekend, the whole floor is covered with a thick green blend of sedum and creeping thyme. These plants do not just look pretty, they act like a natural shield, blocking sunlight from reaching weed seeds and releasing gentle plant chemicals that tell most weeds to not even bother. The upkeep is almost laughable. Twice a season you give the carpet a quick trim, less than 15 minutes with garden scissors or the string trimmer you already own. That is it. No digging, no mulching, no crawling around on your knees. For 3 years straight, this living mat keeps the weeds out and the moisture in, so you are not losing water to evaporation or spending money on mulch bags from the hardware store. Homeowners are loving it. Maria Rodriguez remembers the first summer. She kept waiting for the weeds to show up, but they never did. She used to spend hours pulling crabgrass and dandelions. Now she just snips the thyme, it smells amazing, and her weekends are hers again. The science behind this is sneakily simple. Sedum and thyme crowd out invaders and even put out mild keep-away signals, like a velvet rope at a club for your vegetables. Researchers call it allelopathy, and what that means for you is less mess, less stress, and more time to actually enjoy your garden. When you add up the time saved, no more weekly weed patrols, no emergency trips to buy weed killer, no piles of pulled up roots, you are looking at a garden that practically maintains itself. That is how the autopilot garden keeps your weekly upkeep under 15 minutes. And when you see how much money this low maintenance setup saves on groceries, it feels like finding a bonus paycheck hiding in your backyard. Let's talk real numbers for a second. How does a backyard garden actually turn into $5,000 a year in grocery savings? Here is how the math shakes out when you look at a family like the Patels in Texas. Every week, their receipts used to pile up $1,050 a month, mostly on produce, herbs, and those pricey organic strawberries their youngest would not eat unless they were perfectly red. After flipping the switch on their autopilot garden, that monthly bill dropped to $560. That's nearly $500 back in their pocket every single month, just from harvesting what grows steps from the back door. The secret sauce is not just piles of lettuce. It is the mix. Tomatoes that would cost $6 a pound at the store, strawberries that taste like summer, and fresh basil that turns into pesto worth its weight in gold. Even on the conservative side, the numbers add up fast. The average system pumps out about $2,565 in fresh groceries a year just from a 10 by 10 foot patch. Push it with a few high-value crops or homemade salsa and jam, and you are climbing right up to that $5,000 mark. The upfront cost is about $3,700 for the full kit that does the heavy lifting. No hidden fees, no subscription. Even after you factor in a few dollars a month for power and nutrients, the payback is clear. For the Patels, it is like the garden started writing them a check every month. All the proof is right there in their receipts and the cost table taped to their fridge. The money is not theoretical. It is dinner on the table and a grocery bill that finally makes sense. Bugs love fresh food as much as we do, but in the autopilot garden, they are out of luck. Instead of reaching for sprays or setting up sticky traps, the garden uses a trick straight out of science fiction: sound waves. The silent guard device sits quietly among the plants, sending out ultrasonic pulses, totally invisible and completely silent to people and pets. But for pests like thrips, whiteflies, and fruit flies, it is like a non-stop alarm clock. They scatter before they can even think about nibbling a leaf. Dr. Luis Ortega, an entomologist who has spent years studying garden pests, ran a full trial at the University of Arizona. Over 8 weeks, gardens using the Silent Guard saw pest numbers drop by 78%. No chemicals, no cleanup, and no risk to cats or dogs. The frequency is well above what they can hear. The device works best against the little bugs that usually ruin tomatoes and strawberries, while leaving bees and butterflies alone. Bigger bugs like beetles do not seem to care, but for most families, it is the tiny invaders that cause the biggest headaches. The result? Healthier plants, cleaner fruit, and less time spent worrying about what is crawling around out back. The garden handles defense on autopilot so you can enjoy the harvest without a single can of bug spray in sight. Now here's where the garden goes from smart to genius. Imagine sunlight itself getting a tune-up, like your backyard just got a set of high-performance sunglasses. The secret is in the smart glass panels. These are not your grandma's greenhouse windows. They actually shift the light spectrum, flipping between growth mode and shade mode depending on what your plants need that hour. It is as if the sun is custom tailored for tomatoes at breakfast and strawberries by lunch. MIT Media Lab put these panels through a full season trial, and the numbers are wild. Tomato harvest jumped by 12%, just from the glass alone. But it is not just about more food, it is about better food. The same trial found an 8% boost in flavor thanks to a perfect sugar-acid balance dialed in by extra ultraviolet B-rays. Berries come out sweeter, basil gets punchier, and even the pickiest kid notices the difference. There is a catch, though. Some neighborhoods, like Landmark Estates in California, were not ready for high-tech windows popping up in every yard. The Homeowners Association sent out letters, worried about the panels changing the look of the street. The solution was a quick retrofit with covers, and the gardens kept thriving. For everyone else, it is a flavor and yield upgrade that runs itself. No extra work, no guessing games, just smarter sunlight and better bites every single day. Now, here is where things get wild. No backyard needed. The autopilot garden does not care if you have a big yard or just a tiny balcony. Each vertical tower takes up about as much space as a kitchen chair. Seriously, just a quarter of a square meter. That is smaller than most doormats, But these towers are like little food factories. University of Florida tests clocked a single tower cranking out around 12 kilograms of lettuce every year. That is more greens than most families buy in months, all from a footprint you could tuck next to your grill. Mounting is easy. Clip-on brackets snap right onto a balcony railing so renters and apartment dwellers can finally get in on the action too. As engineer Carlos Mendez puts it, if you have room for a folding chair, you have room to grow $200 worth of fresh food year after year with almost zero effort. Seeds aren't just seeds anymore, they are getting smarter too. The autopilot garden quietly tracks which batches sprout fastest, which ones grow the biggest leaves, and which ones shrug off bugs or weird weather. It is like having a personal seed coach that always picks the top performers for the next round. Over a single year, this behind-the-scenes ranking bumped up harvests by a solid 5% in controlled trials with quick-growing greens. That's more salad, more sandwiches, more flavor, without buying a single extra packet from the store. Instead of guessing which seeds to save or when to plant them, the garden's mini brain keeps score and even suggests the best pairings for cross-pollination. All you do is let it run, and the system quietly locks in better and better results, season after season. Dr. Priya Singh, a data scientist who helped design the ranking algorithm, puts it simply, it is like your garden is learning what works best for your backyard. So you get more food every year with zero extra effort. That is how the autopilot garden keeps the good times and the groceries rolling, year after year, all on its own. Right now, food costs keep climbing, but a backyard that pays you back changes the game. The line between tech and nature is blurring, and with a setup this simple, anyone can tap into free, fresh food on autopilot. It's not just about beating prices, it's about taking control. Imagine what else becomes possible when your home starts working for you. What would you grow first?